I couldn't wait to get home. It had been an exhausting day, but on the bright side, all of my hard work would be worth it. After years of research and effort, it would soon be finished and I'd be home to finally relax, maybe have a nice dinner, and the precious love of my life. It had been a rough couple of years for us, but through all the hardship we'd endured, it would all be fine after tonight. I'd always loved her, always been willing to do anything for her. She was very precious to me after all. The rain was coming down pretty hard, so hard that all I could hear were the sounds of the heavy raindrops slamming and splashing onto the ground. It always sucks walking in the rain, but she was right there too, and that made it worth it. Granted, she's a pretty fast walker. I'd swear if I stopped for a second, she'd walk off and leave me behind. She was always quick and to the point. No time for distractions or second thoughts. Just point A to point B. It had only been a couple of years since I'd first laid eyes on her. She'd been a very important part of my life since day one. At this point, I knew everything there was to know about her. Well, I'd go so far as to say I knew her better than anyone, maybe even herself. Finally, we made it to the house. I was so happy to get out of the rain. I swear I felt like I was soaked down to the bone. Quickly, she unlocked the door and hurried in, escaping the storm, and I quickly followed behind. But before I put my hand on the doorknob, it occurred to me that I'd forgotten something. Oh, shit. I'd always hated it when I was forgetful, especially when it came to my son's birthday. These were a rough couple of years of late nights and hard work, but that was no excuse. I made my way back to the office and searched my desk for it. There it was, my son's birthday gift. Now I had to make my way back to the house. I should probably invest in a new car. Finally, I made it back to the house, unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house was dark and quiet. She must have already gone to bed. I always hated having to sneak around to not wake up the whole house. I swear sounds are magnified tenfold when you're trying to be quiet. I hung my coat on the rack and slowly made my way upstairs. Each creak on the steps made my heart race. I knew if I woke her up, she'd probably kick my ass, and it had been far too long of a night to have to deal with that. Finally making my way up to the top step, I walked slowly and quietly. First was the kids' room. I peeked inside to check on them. Still fast asleep. Good, such precious angels. I continued walking until I got to the master bedroom. As I thought, she was already fast asleep. Slowly unzipping my hoodie and laying it gently on the floor, I walked up to her and stared at her sleeping face. She was an incredibly beautiful woman, no doubt about that. I sighed and unsheathed my knife, taking a deep breath. It was too bad that she was so hideously ugly on the inside. Quickly and effectively, I covered her mouth with one hand and plunged the knife deep into her temple with the other. Her eyes opened wide with confusion, pain, terror, and eventually emptiness. She would have appreciated this method. No time for distractions. No time to fuck around with torture or suffering. No showing her a photo of my son. No asking if she knew what his name was, nor how old he was when she'd murdered him. No asking what was so important that she was speeding so fast that day, running that red light and slamming right into me as I carried my son in my arms, injuring me badly but killing my boy on impact. No asking why she fled the scene, leaving me to die as well. No, there was no time for any of that. I'd spent too much time with this obsession. I'd spent time and resources finding her, learning everything I could about her, planning for this very moment. It was my son's birthday. I had this all planned out and exactly how I needed it to go, and there was no time for deviations. One quick thrust, and it was all over. I slowly exhaled in relief as I slid the blade from her head, staring at her cold, dead eyes. Quickly but quietly, I made my way out of the house and headed home, making sure there was no one around to see me. Oh, it had been a long night. Hell, it had been a long couple of years since Carter died. I was finally home, though, and it felt so good to be here. Once again, I removed my coat and placed it on the rack. I made my way upstairs and looked into Carter's bedroom, vacant yet untouched for the last 2 years. Finally, I made it to my bedroom. Meredith laying peacefully asleep. I truly do love her, and I've always been willing to do anything for her. As hard as Carter's passing had been on me, Meredith had taken it especially hard. Things got very rough for us, between the fighting, the blaming, and the separations. Things would be better now. We could start the process of moving forward. We had to. After a long hot shower, I climbed into bed and held her close. She slowly opened her eyes and, staring into mine, asked if it was done. I nodded in confirmation, and for the first time in 2 years, I saw a genuinely beautiful smile. There were only a few more hours until sunrise, so I got the little bit of sleep in that I could before waking up to head to the cemetery. It was Carter's birthday after all, and we had to take his gift to him. At his grave, I gently laid down the small toy dinosaur I'd gotten from my office near his headstone. He'd always loved dinosaurs. They were precious to him, as he was precious to me. A tear fell from my eye and I stood, telling him once more that I loved him. Hand in hand, Meredith and I made our way back home, to move forward, home at last. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this story today. It really means a lot to me and to the author of the story, of course. Well, if you want to know more about me, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can download my music on SoundCloud. I've got a Patreon if you feel like. Throw me $1 or $2. Very much appreciated. And of course, on Reddit, I have a place where you can leave stories if you want me to read one that you've written. Well, hoping to see you all again very soon. Till then, sweet dreams. Bye-bye.